What is arts thinking? So I asked a question. How many artists does it take to screw in a light bulb? So before I answer that, I thought to myself, what is it that artists do? I'll say we. I'm a reformed artist. Hello, my name is Emily. I was an artist. We question things. We make meaning. We put things into cultural context. So how many artists does it take to screw in a light bulb? And we might answer, why would you want to do something like that? So, of course, arts thinking, we took it a step further from design thinking, which has been something on people's minds lately and written about quite a lot. And it's used as a term for design and for innovation quite often. And we love design thinking because user-centered design is fantastic and important, and because we design things for us. So how many designers does it take to screw in a light bulb? Well, the answer there is, does it have to be a light bulb? So that's user-centered design. And so the only difference between design thinking, the main difference, the first difference, is that arts thinking is culture-centered design, not just user-centered, but us as humanity, looking at it on a big scale. So our first sign of arts thinking is that it's culture-centered thinking. So I decided to take that a step further and do the 10 signs of arts thinking. So the first one is disruption, which has been a big tradition in the arts for a long time. Even I take you back 150 years here. And this art exhibition that was scandalous got this terrible review where Louis Leroy said, "Wallpaper in its embryonic state is more finished than that seascape." And he was looking at this. We don't really find it very disruptive today, Impressionist paintings. But at that point in time, it was disruptive. And it's been the job of the artists to be the disruptors, to always question the status quo. Number 3, bootstrapping. You know, all of the artists in this room have learned to do with very little, because they weren't making money for money's sake. They were making money for what they could do with it and what they could make. And then they were, number 4, making something out of nothing. After you have a blank canvas, when you have 2 classrooms and you want to put together a conference, and you need to make something out of nothing that was given you. So, and the other part of it, of making stuff, is this idea in business that you have a supply and demand. Well, one thing that's interesting about art is that it's the only supply-side sector. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. So number 5, trial and error, having room for experimentation and communication. This is a piece of music Beethoven did, where he's scratching out things and he's rewriting them. A lot of people call it lean startup method now with software, but artists always painted over and over and over again whatever they were doing. They prototyped, they created a space, a studio space for experimentation. Ooh. Artists make relevant content and make people think and wonder, even if they piss people off. That's a real job of an artist there. And also number 7 is inherent failure. It's not even that we can fail and then succeed and learn from our mistakes, but we try to fail better, like Samuel Beckett tells us here. That failure is ingrained in arts thinking. And here's one, taking risks. That's what a lot of artists do. The image, I'll tell you what it is if you don't know, that's Yoko Ono. Talk about a risk taker who did a wonderful performance piece where she had a pair of scissors and people from the audience were invited up to cut her dress. Talk about being a risk taker. Number 9, Putting things together that didn't seem to go together before. Maybe call it appropriation, maybe call it mashup, maybe just call it in your thought process, taking shoes and social good. Something like that would be arts thinking. And number 10 is being this mythological figure, this outlier, this weirdo, which we know is so important in culture, so important, for us. So those are our 10 signs. But you don't have to be an artist to be an arts thinker. Not only can you use these methods, but many people do without realizing it. Like I just mentioned, Tom's shoes. That's arts thinking at its best. And we'll hear from a lot of people today who are arts thinkers who don't call themselves artists necessarily. So what does this have to do with the creative economy? So the economies are about value creation, are about the systems of value exchange and about money. So one of the things that I learned about value is that it's arbitrary and mutually agreed upon. The price of a painting, we decide that it's worth $10,000 or $10 million. Totally an arbitrary number, perhaps, but we've all agreed that that's the worth of the thing, and that we could even, there might be people fighting to pay that price for something. So arbitrary and mutually agreed upon. And if the creative economy is about knowledge workers using this sort of idea of value, who are better knowledge workers than artists for what they think about and deciding what should be valued? Because arts thinking creates value. And how does it do that? Well, let's not forget our number 1 sign of arts thinking, which was it's culture-centered thinking that's based on questions, that's based on putting things in context, that's based on having a big point of view, of seeing the world and making meaning. I mean, why would you want to do that? So I want to go back for a second to art being the only supply-side sector, because I think it's something that's important when we're talking about economics here. So what artists do is they think stuff up, and they make stuff. And there's been a lot of talk about how sort of in business, ideas are worthless, and it's execution that matters. But it's even larger than that, and we need to think on a larger scale, is that ideas actually are not worthless. Ideas are priceless. And they are the thing that drives us, and the thing that makes us do things and make stuff and express things. And expression matters. So we've all agreed upon that expression matters, and that art is valuable to humans. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, I think. You're all at basically an arts festival. So these people that are creating and making stuff, we've got a lot of questions, right now in the economy as it is. So and there's a crisis going on for creative people right now. Do they have to make money and make their work? How will they survive? So how will art be created right now in the economy and the cultural trends that are happening? How will artists survive? And how will artists be valued? And how are they being valued today? So that's what we're here to talk about. So thank you very much.